The money's going to be available to them next year. Operation and maintenance, we put $2.2 billion in addition to what the president asked for. We recommend another $1 billion for Afghanistan, $5.9 billion for the military side of it, where we're training the Afghans to do the fighting. Let me tell you something. Afghans not over the hill. Afghanistan's got a lot of problems. We put $3.8 billion in Iraqi security. Let me tell you something about that. I'm over in Iraq. Mr. Hobson and I were with the speaker on her trip. And the prime minister of Iraq, I said to him, if you don't show some progress, we're not going to fund this equipment request. He says, we'll get it someplace else. Arrogant. We'll get it someplace else, he said. So I came back and all at once the Iraqis put $7.3 billion of their own money into equipment for their troops. That's the kind of benchmarks we need. We need to force the Iraqis to take care of their own responsibility. Every time something happens, we step up and send Americans into the civil war. They should be doing this. They're the ones, and you don't have to measure Iraqis by our standards. I told General Dempsey, I said, General, they don't have to be at the American standard. They know the culture, they know the geography, they know the tribes. They have better intelligence. They know who the enemy is. There are only 2,000 al-Qaeda in Iraq. They're fighting each other, and our troops are caught in between. We put in a combination of last year's bill and this year, $2.1 billion for the new vehicles. Almost every person that we see at Walter Reed and Bethesda and the Burn Center they've been hit with an IED, and these new vehicles are V-shaped, and they'll help protect against that. So we put $313 million more of equipment in for that. We put money in for the Seabees who have been underfunded completely. They were so underfunded they couldn't do their job in many cases. Now we took out some money for a couple programs like the JSF we didn't think was ready, the F-18s we didn't think was ready. We took that money out, and the White House agreed with us. Defense health programs, they didn't ask for additional money. We weren't able to fund it last year because we only passed 2 bills, and we had to pass it in a CR. So we will put $1.7 billion, and it wasn't because they didn't want to do it. Nobody wanted to do it better than Jim Walsh did. He wanted to put that money in, but he couldn't do it. He didn't have the money. So we put that money in this supplemental. Now, in addition to that, we have put in $62 million for amputee care. Let me tell you something about that. Amputee care, they said to me one time, there's only a certain number of amputees. This is one person at a time. This is not numbers. This is families. This is individuals that lose their legs and arms and are hurt by this war. Each individual has to be taken care of. We wanted to start an amputee center. You know what happened? It took a year before they would even say that they needed one at Walter Reed. And then in addition to that, we put money in, and it took another year before they released the money. I was shocked. The Undersecretary of the Army came. I said, how's it going, the amputee center? He said, well, it's going well. It wasn't even started. The next day, he released the money. I went out to see the Intrepid Center. The Intrepid Center is a multi-million dollar, $58 million building put up by private resources in 18 months to take care of amputees at the Burn Center in Texas. 18 months. And we still haven't got the amputee center done at Walter Reed, which is a $7 or $8 million facility with $7 or $8 million for equipment. And that's where most of the amputees go here. We put $12 million for caregivers. Why do we put $12 million in for caregivers? I go to the hospital. Bill goes to the hospital. Many of you go to the hospital. It gets to me. It gets to me to see these young people. And these caregivers deal with it every day. They need help, and they requested help, and we put $12 million to help them. $14.8 million for the Burn Center. You go to the Burn Center, you'll see what war is all about. I know something about war. And I've seen burn victims on the battlefield. Let me tell you something. It's the families that sit there and suffer with them. The brain damage when when they're sitting there with this young folks with brain damage and don't have enough people, they don't have enough care, or if they do, they still suffer. We need to take care of these young people. We have an obligation. Now, general provisions, we put in no permanent bases in Iraq. We put in no torture, same thing we put in the past in our bill. We also contracting. Contractors fall all over themselves. I asked the GAO and in a committee hearing, GAO and Inspector General for Iraq, how many contractors you have in Iraq? Couldn't tell me. Couldn't tell me how many contractors in Iraq. We took 5% out of it to get their attention. We put another 10% in a fence to get their attention. Now, if we find out that they're doing a good job, that there's no corruption, that they have exactly the right number, we of course put the money back in. I doubt we'll find that. But we want accountability. We want auditing, and we want to help. We want to protect the troops. We want to take care of the troops. We want to make sure they have what they need. We want to change the direction. We want to give the Iraqis the incentive to do what they need to do. They need to take over this war and get our Americans out of this between this civil war.